What happens when Hollywood royalty meets daytime television royalty and the gloves come off? In just 21 seconds, a single comment would turn what should have been a friendly chat into the most shocking celebrity meltdown ever caught on live television. The Kelly Clarkson Show was having its best ratings week of the season. Kelly sat behind her familiar desk, her warm smile lighting up Studio 6B as cameras rolled for what everyone expected to be another feel-good interview. The audience was buzzing with excitement. Today's guest was someone they had all been waiting to see. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Meghan Markle. The applause was thunderous as Meghan walked onto the set. She wore a sleek black dress that probably cost more than most people make in a month. Her smile looked perfect, but something seemed different about her today. There was an edge to her walk, a certain stiffness that the cameras picked up immediately. "Meghan, welcome to the show." Kelly stood up and gave her guest a genuine hug. "I'm so excited to have you here today." "Thank you for having me, Kelly," Meghan replied, settling into the guest chair. But instead of the usual pleasantries, she immediately launched into what sounded like a prepared statement. "I have to say, your studio is quite small. I was expecting something more substantial." Kelly's smile faltered for just a moment. The audience shifted uncomfortably. This was not how interviews usually started on her show. "Well, we love our cozy setup here," Kelly laughed, trying to keep things light. "It makes everything feel more intimate, more real." "Speaking of real, I wanted to talk to you about your new podcast and all the amazing work you're doing." But Meghan wasn't interested in talking about her projects. She crossed her legs and leaned back in her chair like she owned the place. "Before we get to that, Kelly, I think we need to address something. Your producers told me I would have the entire hour. Now I'm hearing it's only 30 minutes? That's simply not acceptable." The audience fell completely silent. Even the camera operators looked at each other with confused expressions. Kelly's producer, standing just off stage, made frantic gestures trying to signal that everything was fine. "Oh, I think there might be some confusion," Kelly said, her voice still friendly but with a slight strain. "We always do 30-minute segments for our guest interviews. That's been the format since day one." "Well, the format needs to change?" Meghan shot back. "Do you know who I am? Do you understand what I've been through? I don't do 30-minute interviews anymore. That's beneath me." Kelly blinked hard. In all her years of hosting, she had never encountered anything quite like this. The audience was starting to murmur among themselves. "Meghan, I completely respect everything you've accomplished, but this is how our show works. We have other segments, other guests. Meghan's voice rose sharply. "What other guest could possibly be more important than me? I'm giving you ratings gold right now, Kelly. You should be thanking me." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop 10 degrees. Kelly's famous warmth was being tested like never before. She took a deep breath and tried a different approach. "Let's focus on the positive things happening in your life. Tell us about your new ventures, your family." "My family?" Meghan's eyes flashed with anger. "You want to talk about my family? Do you have any idea what my family has put me through? The betrayal, the lies, the complete lack of support?" "I meant your current family," Kelly clarified gently. "Your husband, your children." "Don't patronize me," Meghan snapped. "I know exactly what you meant. Everyone always wants to dig into my personal business. That's not what I'm here for." Kelly looked genuinely confused now. "Meghan, what are you here for? Because I thought we were going to have a nice conversation about your work and your life." "I'm here to set the record straight," Meghan declared, pointing her finger at Kelly like she was making some kind of royal proclamation. "I'm here to tell the truth about how I've been treated, how I've been silenced, how people like you and the media have contributed to my suffering." The audience was dead quiet now. Some people looked shocked, others looked uncomfortable. A few were already reaching for their phones to start recording. Kelly's producer stepped closer to the stage, ready to intervene if necessary. But Kelly held up a subtle hand, indicating she could handle this. "People like me?" Kelly asked, her voice remaining calm despite the obvious provocation. "Meghan, I've always been supportive of you in my commentary. I've never said anything negative about you on this show or anywhere else." "Support?" Meghan laughed bitterly. "You call this support? Sticking me in this tiny studio? Giving me half the time I deserve? Asking me basic questions like I'm some nobody who just wandered in off the street?" "These are the same questions I ask everyone," Kelly replied, her patience starting to wear thin. "A list, celebrities, politicians, authors, everyone gets the same treatment here. That's what makes this show work." "Well, maybe your show doesn't work for someone of my caliber," Meghan shot back. "Maybe you need to recognize that some guests require special treatment. Some guests have been through things you could never imagine." Kelly set down her note cards and looked directly at Meghan. "You know what, Meghan? You're absolutely right. Some people have been through unimaginable things. I've had guests on this show who survived wars, who lost children, who overcame addiction, who built businesses from nothing after losing everything. They all sat in that same chair with grace and humility. Are you comparing me to other people? Meghan's voice was getting louder. Are you seriously trying to diminish what I've experienced? I'm not diminishing anything, Kelly replied firmly, but I'm also not going to let you diminish this show or disrespect our audience who came here to see a good interview. The audience started to perk up. Kelly was finally pushing back, and they were here for it. Disrespect? Meghan stood up from her chair. You want to talk about disrespect? Bringing me here under false pretenses, trying to control the narrative, acting like you're doing me some kind of favor? Nobody brought you here under false pretenses, Kelly said, also standing now. Your team reached out to us. We sent you the standard briefing packet that every guest gets. Everything was laid out clearly. My team obviously didn't understand the gravity of who they were dealing with, Meghan replied coldly. That was it. That was the moment everything changed. Kelly's face went completely still. The audience could feel the shift in energy like a storm rolling in. Even the cameramen stopped moving. The gravity of who they were dealing with? Kelly repeated slowly. Meghan, help me understand something. Do you think you're better than everyone else who comes on this show? I think I deserve better than this amateur hour production, Meghan replied without hesitation. I've been on real shows, Kelly. Shows with budgets. Shows with class. Shows that understand the difference between a celebrity guest and a real celebrity. The audience gasped. Someone in the front row actually said, "Oh no, she didn't," loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Kelly nodded slowly, like she was processing what she had just heard. A real celebrity. Okay. Tell me, Meghan, what makes someone a real celebrity in your book? Experience, sacrifice, actually earning your place, instead of just singing your way to the top on a game show, Meghan said with a smirk that made the entire studio audience collectively inhale. Kelly's eyes narrowed. For the first time since the interview started, her famous smile completely disappeared. Singing my way to the top on a game show, she repeated. You mean American Idol? The show that launched my career 20 years ago? The career that's given me multiple Grammy Awards, sold over 25 million albums, and allowed me to build this show that employs hundreds of people? Look, I'm not trying to insult your little singing career, Meghan said dismissively, waving her hand like she was swatting away a fly. But let's be honest about what real fame looks like. Real fame comes with real responsibility. Real fame means representing something bigger than yourself. Something bigger than myself, Kelly said, her voice getting quieter, which somehow made it more intimidating. Like what, Meghan? Like marrying into a family and then spending years complaining about how that family treated you? The audience erupted. Some people cheered, others gasped, and a few people started clapping before catching themselves. Meghan's face turned red. Excuse me? Did you just reduce my entire life experience to marrying someone? I'm just trying to understand your definition of real fame, Kelly replied calmly. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you got famous by dating a prince, then got more famous by leaving that prince's family, and now you're staying famous by talking about leaving that prince's family. How dare you, Meghan hissed. You have no idea what I've sacrificed, what I've given up, what I've endured for the greater good. The greater good? Kelly laughed, but there was no humor in it. Meghan, what greater good? Seriously, help me out here. What have you actually done for anyone other than yourself? I've used my platform to speak truth to power, Meghan declared, like she was giving a speech at the United Nations. I've shed light on institutional racism, on mental health struggles, on the price of speaking out against injustice. Your platform? Kelly repeated. The platform you got by marrying a prince. I had a platform before that, Meghan shot back. I was an actress. I was on television. You were on a cable show that most people never heard of until you started dating royalty, Kelly said matter-of-factly. And that's fine, Meghan. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't come on my show and act like you're Nelson Mandela when you're just someone who got lucky in love and then got unlucky in love. The audience was losing their minds. Some people were standing up, others were filming with their phones, and the energy in the room was electric. Meghan looked like she had been slapped. Lucky in love? You think what I went through was luck? I think what you went through was life, Kelly replied. Marriage is hard. Families are complicated. Moving to a new country is difficult. But millions of people deal with those same challenges every single day without a platform, without millions of dollars, without the ability to sit down with famous talk show hosts and get sympathy for it. You're minimizing my trauma, Meghan accused, her voice shaking with anger. I'm putting your trauma in perspective, Kelly corrected. And the perspective is that you've had opportunities and privileges that most people can only dream of. And instead of being grateful, you've spent years playing the victim. Playing the victim? Meghan's voice cracked. I was suicidal, Kelly. I was ready to end my life because of how I was treated. The studio went dead silent. This was serious territory now, and everyone knew it. Kelly's expression softened slightly. Meghan, if you were genuinely struggling with suicidal thoughts, then I'm truly sorry you went through that. Mental health is no joke, and I would never make light of someone's pain. For a moment, it seemed like maybe they could find some common ground. Maybe Kelly's compassion would diffuse the situation. But then Meghan kept talking. But you just did make light of it, she said accusingly. You just spent 5 minutes telling me my problems don't matter because other people have problems too. Do you know what that sounds like to someone who's been through what I've been through? Kelly sighed deeply. Meghan, acknowledging that other people also struggle doesn't diminish your struggles. It's called perspective. It's called humility. It's called recognizing that you're not the center of the universe. I never said I was the center of the universe, Meghan protested. Really? Kelly raised an eyebrow. Because you walked in here demanding special treatment, complaining about the studio size, insisting you deserve more time than everyone else, and calling yourself a real celebrity while implying that I'm not. If that's not main character energy, I don't know what island. Main character energy? Meghan looked genuinely confused. It means thinking everything revolves around you, Kelly explained patiently. It means thinking your problems are more important than everyone else's problems. It means thinking you deserve special treatment just because of who you are instead of what you do. I do deserve special treatment, Meghan said defiantly. I've earned it through everything I've overcome. Kelly stared at her for a long moment. Meghan, overcoming hardship doesn't entitle you to treat other people badly. It should teach you empathy. It should make you kinder, not more demanding. Don't lecture me about kindness, Meghan snapped. You've been attacking me since I sat down. I've been responding to your attacks, Kelly corrected. You came in here insulting my studio, my show format, my career, and my audience. I've been nothing but professional despite the fact that you've been rude to me and everyone here from minute one. Professional? Meghan laughed bitterly. You call this professional? Arguing with your guest on live television? I call this honest, Kelly replied. Which is something you claim to value, right? Truth-telling? Well, here's some truth for you, Meghan. Your behavior today has been absolutely unacceptable. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Meghan's face twisted into something ugly, something the cameras caught in perfect high definition. Unacceptable? Meghan's voice was pure venom now. You want to know what's unacceptable, Kelly? What's unacceptable is a washed-up pop star thinking she can judge me. What's unacceptable is being ambushed on what I thought was a friendly show by someone who clearly has an agenda. Kelly's jaw tightened. Washed-up pop star? Got it. Anything else you'd like to add to that? Since you asked, Meghan said, standing up and smoothing down her dress like she was preparing for battle. Yes, actually. What's also unacceptable is the way this entire industry protects mediocrity while tearing down excellence. People like you get to coast on past achievements, while people like me get scrutinized for every breath we take. People like you, Kelly repeated, also standing. And people like me. Break that down for me, Meghan. What exactly do you mean by that? I think you know exactly what I mean, Meghan said with a knowing look. The audience collectively held its breath. Everyone could feel what was coming. No, Meghan, I really don't, Kelly said, her voice dangerously calm. Why don't you spell it out for everyone? Meghan glanced around the studio, at the cameras, at the audience, like she was calculating something in her head. I mean that some of us have had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Some of us have had to overcome barriers that others never even knew existed. Barriers like what? Kelly pressed. Like being handed a starring role on a television show? Like dating and marrying a literal prince? Like getting a multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix? Those barriers? You're twisting my words, Meghan accused. I'm using your exact words, Kelly shot back. You said people like you and people like me. You said you've had to work twice as hard. For what, Meghan? What have you worked twice as hard for? Meghan's composure was starting to crack. For respect, for basic human dignity, for the right to exist in spaces like this without being attacked. Attacked? Kelly's voice rose for the first time. Meghan, you walked in here and immediately started insulting my studio, my show, my career, and my professionalism. You demanded special treatment, acted like you were better than everyone else, and then called me a washed-up pop star. But I'm attacking you? You're putting words in my mouth, Meghan said desperately. I'm repeating the words that came out of your mouth, Kelly corrected. On camera, in front of all these witnesses. You can't gaslight an entire studio audience, Meghan. Gaslight? Meghan looked genuinely shocked. Did you just accuse me of gaslighting? If the shoe fits, Kelly said with a shrug that somehow conveyed more contempt than screaming would have. Meghan's face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, anger, indignation, calculation, and finally, something that looked almost like panic. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she said, her voice getting higher and more frantic. This is exactly the kind of treatment I've been subjected to my entire career. Being questioned, being challenged, being made to justify my existence. Your existence? Kelly looked genuinely incredulous. Meghan, nobody is questioning your existence. We're questioning your behavior. There's a difference. Is there? Meghan shot back. Because from where I'm standing, it feels like the same thing. Kelly paused for a moment, studying Meghan's face. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter but somehow more powerful. You know what, Meghan? You're right. There is no difference for you, is there? You've made your identity so completely about being a victim that any criticism of your actions feels like a personal attack. Any request for accountability feels like oppression. Any expectation of basic courtesy feels like discrimination. How dare you psychoanalyze me, Meghan hissed. I'm not psychoanalyzing you, Kelly replied calmly. I'm observing you. And what I'm observing is someone who is confused being challenged with being persecuted. Persecuted, Meghan repeated mockingly. Right, because I've never actually been persecuted. Have you? Kelly asked pointedly. Or have you been held to the same standards as everyone else and decided that felt like persecution because you're used to special treatment? The question hit like a physical blow. Meghan actually took a step backward. You don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice had lost its earlier venom. Now she just sounded tired. Maybe I don't, Kelly admitted, but I know what I see right here, right now. And what I see is someone who came on my show, treated me and my staff with disrespect, made demands that no reasonable person would make, and then played victim when called out on it. Called out. Meghan laughed bitterly. Is that what this is? Yes, Meghan, that's exactly what this island. Kelly's voice was steel now. This is me calling you out for your behavior. This is me refusing to enable your victim complex. This is me saying enough. Enough? Meghan's voice cracked on the word. Enough, Kelly repeated firmly. She looked directly into the camera, then back at Meghan. You know what? This interview is over. The audience gasped. Several people actually stood up. Excuse me? Meghan looked genuinely shocked. You heard me, Kelly said, her voice calm and final. This interview is over. You need to leave my show. You can't kick me off your show, Meghan said, disbelief written all over her face. Actually, I can, Kelly replied matter-of-factly. It's my show. My name is literally in the title, and I'm done pretending that your behavior is acceptable. My behavior? Meghan's voice was getting shrill again. What about your behavior? What about your unprofessionalism? What about your obvious agenda? My agenda, Kelly said with a small smile that didn't reach her eyes, is to have honest conversations with interesting people. You've made it clear that's not what you're interested in, so we're done here. Kelly turned to face the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you've witnessed today. This is not the kind of show we usually have, and it's certainly not the kind of behavior we usually see from our guests. Don't you apologize for me, Meghan snapped. I don't need your apologies. Kelly turned back to her. You're right, Meghan. You don't need my apologies. What you need is to learn how to treat people with basic respect. What you need is to understand that being famous doesn't make you special. What you need is a reality check. A reality check? Meghan was practically vibrating with anger now. Yes, Kelly said simply. A reality check. Here it is. You're not the main character in everyone else's story. Your trauma doesn't excuse bad behavior. Your past struggles don't entitle you to present rudeness. And your fame doesn't make you better than anyone else in this room. Meghan opened her mouth to respond, but Kelly held up a hand. I'm done, Meghan. We're done. Security will show you out. Security? Meghan looked around wildly as 2 large men in suits appeared at the edge of the stage. You're having me escorted out by security? I'm having you escorted out with dignity, Kelly corrected, which is more than you've shown anyone here today. As security approached, Meghan made one last desperate play. You'll regret this, Kelly. Do you know what this is going to look like? Do you know how this is going to be perceived? Kelly looked at her steadily. It's going to be perceived as exactly what it island. A host who finally said enough is enough. And with that, Meghan Markle was escorted off the Kelly Clarkson show, leaving behind the most dramatic talk show moment in television history.